Absolutely. Morning Rise back on your radio, Lagos. Good morning to you. Let's have our conversation on water resources bill. I have two lovely guests on the program this morning. But before I bring on my guest on the show this morning, I'm Sheriff Quadry. Lagos, you can watch right now on Facebook and YouTube. We are live. YouTube, Nigeria Info 99.3 is what you can search for. Same for Facebook as well. Just search for Nigeria Info 99.3 on those two platforms. Let me know what you think about the water resources bill. We'll try as much as possible to put everything on the table for you so you can understand exactly what the bill is saying. You can also share your thought with me on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM. Hashtag Morning Crossfire. The WhatsApp line, I'll give that out in a moment. The phone lines also, I'll give them out in a moment. And I can see some people calling me already. But just hang on. Hang on. Let's get into the conversation this morning. All right. Okay, so Nigerians have expressed anger over the reintroduction of the National Water Resources Bill to the 9th National Assembly 2 years after it was previously rejected during the 8th Assembly. The bill, which is now reintroduced by the chairman of the House Committee on Business and Rules, Dr. Abubakar Fulata, elected on the platform of the All Progressives Congress, APC, in Adamawa State, Northeast, as a private bill, has been allowed to proceed to the third hearing. Previously passed first and second reading when it was first introduced in 2018. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari had in 2017 forwarded the controversial bill to the 8th National Assembly in 2018. The Minister of Federal Ministry of Water Resources, Alhaji Sulaiman Adamu, said that the bill would regulate the water sector in the country, adding that water laws had been in existence since 2006. The bill was drafted in 2008. Let me quote an organization, Waterwide. And we have the representative here, as a matter of fact, Chief Executive Officer of Waterwide is joining us this morning. I'm going to quote Waterwide. Waterwide said, the responsibility of water supply in Nigeria is shared between three levels of government: federal, state, and local. The federal government is in charge of water resources management. State governments have the primary responsibility for urban water supply, and local government, together with communities, are responsible for rural water supply. We'll ask my guest this morning on their position, if anything has changed from what I've just quoted. But let me put some questions across to you this morning, Lagos. Should the federal government have the total power to control all water resources in the country? Do you think the federal government should have the power, absolute power, total power, to control all water resources in the country, in spite of the outcry that have been trailing its reintroduction of over a couple of years now? Now, according to the federal government, in June 2018, the National Water Resources Bill will be beneficial to all Nigerians whenever it is signed into law. Do you think this is right? Do you think the Water Resources Bill will be beneficial to all Nigerians? Lagos, let's have our conversation. Let me introduce my guest as quickly as possible. It's almost 10 minutes gone past here already. We have Aderunke Ige here, Associate Director, Corporate Accountability and Public Participation Africa, CAPA. Runke, good morning to you.
Good morning, Sheriff.
Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
We also have Wilson Atume. Wilson Atume is the Chief Executive Officer at Waterwide. That's Water with Development. Wilson, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning.
It's good to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Let's start with the quote that I quoted earlier. Can you? Is that true to start with? And could you expatiate? Could you explain further what you meant by the classification that you've done? Your organization has done in terms of water in Nigeria?
Okay, that quote is we use that quote, but it's a national quote. It's an acceptable quote from the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the government itself.
Great.
So what we meant by the federal government having total control of water management, it has to do with big dams, river basins, and and the likes, then the state government is saddled with the responsibility of providing water in urban centers, urban centers in the states, while the local government, as we said, will liaise with the local government chairman. That's the local government will liaise with local partners to provide water for people in rural communities, in those little communities, of which that has been going well so far, even though people don't have full access to safe water. But I mean, that is federalism.
Right.
Every level should cater for its people.
Indeed. Ronke, let me come to you. Your organization, CAPA, you've done a review of the Water Resources Bill. Could you just share with us what are those things that you found out, and what is the position of CAPA on the Water Resources Bill?
Thank you very much. Yes, we did an extensive review because, when you have a government that has not shown itself over the time to be trustworthy, you have to cross-check everything that is put in the public coffers or that is thrown at the people. So it's very clear. Our position is absolutely clear, and this is the same position we have taken since 2017 when this arbitrary document was first introduced to the Nigerian people. So the position is, this is not pro-people. It is not going to serve the people of Nigeria. It is not equitable, and it has to be withdrawn. It has to be trashed. So what are some of the things we have against this bill? Number one is what you have laid there already, and I'm happy that's how we started it, is the fact that the whole control of water, every form of management of water, and at every level is going to be entrusted in the federal government. And not just that, you can now see some of the provisions that are also more like encouraging the government to be the know-all, be-all, and to handle every aspect of our use of water according to its whims and caprices.
Right.
So one of these things that we also see is the celebration of privatization, or the way this bill seeks to promote it, such that a private citizen will not be able to lay claim to any body of water, any source of water, be it underground, be it above the surface, however it appears, everything is going to belong to the federal government. So we know that even as we speak, people are finding it difficult to access water, to even find water around. So people have become a government unto themselves, trying to go the extra mile to source for water and to get water around.
Right.
So when this control is taken over by the federal government, and then especially with the aspect of privatization that is being introduced, what we begin to see is a situation where an ordinary citizen will not be able to afford water anymore. An average citizen will have to, bow to every form of arbitrariness of government if it chooses to be arbitrary, which we know is likely to be the case given our history, before such a person is able to access water or even get water. So those are some of the things that we see. For instance, we see an outrageous provision in this bill where any officer of the commission or any of the bodies and commissions that are responsible for the maintenance of water, for the control of water, management of water from the federal government, can enter into the compound of a private citizen or any individual for the sake of maintaining, according to them, law and order, or to ensure strict compliance with the law. So that is not done. That is absolutely arbitrary. You find a provision in this bill as well, a clause where you will have to obtain a license for you to do anything water related in your private property or wherever you find yourself. So like my brother there has said earlier, we have tiers of government. This is a federalism. And even with the structure that we have already, we see that it is taking a lot to be able to make the public water infrastructure effective. We haven't seen effectiveness. That is where we are going so far. Yes, you now have a government that wants to also control everything that has to do with every state and every local government. We believe that that is inimical to development and to the true spirit of federalism.
Ronke, I will come back to you, but let me quickly hear what Wilson has got to say as regards his organization's position on the Water Resources Bill. Wilson, what is Water with Development's position on the Water Resources Bill?
Great. So while we think the Water Resources Bill has some little advantages, but it has high-level disadvantage to the Nigerian people. For us at WaterWide, we work with people in marginalized and rural communities. These people are underserved and don't have access to safe water. So for us, what we're seeing in this bill is for us to do an intervention for any NGO, for any well-meaning Nigerian to have an intervention in a marginalized or rural community, he must start to seek permission, seek licensing from this because of this bill, because of the provisions of this bill.
Right.
And you know how typical humans are, Nigerians are. We don't want something that would be that would stress us more. So it's enough that you want to do a great thing in a marginalized or rural community, providing access to safe water. I mean, we have over 60 million people that don't have access to safe water in Nigeria. And you're introducing a bill that is going to reduce the flow of water. People are buying water currently, and you're saying for those that are selling water, for people that are using water for commercial purposes, would have to pick up licensing and be renewing their license in every 5 years. That means there'll be some form of payment, of which the bill did not categorically say how much. It said it is at the discretion of the office of the minister.
And I think they have to renew the license every 5 years or so.
Every 5 years, yes.
That's right.
So when you say you have to renew every 5 years, currently people buy water at let's say 20 naira. So once I start paying as a commercial seller, once I start paying for renewal, which means instead of selling my water for 20 naira, I'll think of licensing. I'll think of being controlled by the government. So 20 naira will turn to 50 naira. Now, this is taking Nigeria backward. This is developing Nigeria. You're not putting Nigeria on a pace at which we see the 2030 goals, the Sustainable Development Goals. We're reaching the Sustainable Development Goals in 2030. You're taking us backwards by introducing a bill that is reducing the pace at which we are trying to achieve these goals. Agreed, there are bills and there are laws in other Western countries, in foreign countries, but these countries are fully developed and they have provisions for their people. I mean, when they introduce this type of bill, it is all right because you must have to take cognizance of the environment, the environmental impacts of drilling boreholes indiscriminately. But in Nigeria, the water board just operates in key areas. Now, in some areas, not key areas, some areas, and people don't have access to safe water. Now, you're telling people that even the water that is on the ground, the water that you can access in your own house, you must seek licensing from the government. Even the water that is gathered somewhere, like let's say like a river or something that you want to use or reuse, there is a portion of this particular bill that says, okay, you can take it, but if you're taking it for commercial purpose, you have to pay for it. What is commercial purpose? Immediately, a woman is selling rice by a buka. It's commercial purpose. You take the water without proper notification. It's considered illegal.
Right.
So this bill, it does not clearly state out what commercial is.
As a matter of fact, Wilson, that is where I want to begin from. Now that we've gotten the perspective of your separate organizations on this bill, let's go directly and look at sections of this bill one after the other. This is time. I don't know which of the lines is giving out that sound, but hopefully. Oh, well, okay. Let's see what we can do. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Okay, so what we're going to do is we'll try as much as possible to maybe reconnect with you guys, if you can listen to me. We're hearing some really loud noise, so we'll try as much as possible to reconnect with you and bring you back on the phone. Hopefully it will sound better then. That's my guest. So in the meantime, while we try and bring up my guests once again, that is Wilson and Aderunke, let me have you know that we have some select sections of the bill that we'll be looking at on the show this morning, and you can share your thoughts with me on Twitter and on Facebook. Yeah, YouTube, we're streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. And I can see some of your comments here already on Facebook and YouTube. I'll be taking them as we go along on the show this morning. But on Twitter is at Nigeria Info FM on Twitter. Feel free to share your thoughts with me there. Hashtag Morning Crossfire. Very, very important. Let me go to Facebook and take the comments that I'm seeing here right now. Chonye Kingsley on Facebook says, it's unfortunate that we have people in power that only think of now. What happens when an evil and wicked government is in power? Have they thought it through? What such government would do all these abnormal laws and policies they are dishing out now? It is very dangerous to concentrate power on a single entity. That's Kingsley's thought. Aderonke has rejoined us. We'll bring Aderonke back online while we try and get Kingsley back. Ronke, thank you for rejoining us.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start, Ronke, while we wait for Kingsley to join us. Let's start with Section 2, Sub 1 of that bill. That section says all surface water and groundwater, wherever it occurs, is a resource common to all people. What does this mean?
Okay, so this is in fact one of the things we observed as a mischief in the bill, because at the end of the day, when you already make that categorical statement, it is what we know. Yes, it belongs to all of the people, depending on where you are. Where you will see the tree, that first clause that you read, absolutely so. Where you will now see the tree is in clause 2, sub 2. It talks about public trusteeship of water. So, and that provision says there shall be no private ownership of water, but the right to use water in accordance with the provision of this act. And you see that this is a direct contradiction of that one that you already read. So, our observation there is even simple. This provision contradicts the objective of the free access, that we spoke about, because this bill is couched in such a way to deceive, to make it look like it's promoting equitable access. It wants people to have free access to water and to reduce poverty and so on. That's what the objective of the bill is. But then when you look at this clause 2, sub 2, you see that is in direct contravention of that. In fact, before the line went off, I'm happy about the point that we already took up. We're talking about licensing.
Right.
This is one of the things also that are absolutely alarming about this bill. So it's not just about licensing. Also, when you now look at clause 107, you see where it talks about renewal, review, variation, and cancellation of license.
Right.
And I think that's what you and Wilson were talking about before the line went off.
Right.
So now the challenging part is that this commission or any of the commissions, in fact, we will still come to that because there's also multiplicity of agencies and commissions, which is very confusing. Now, any of these commissions can come to you after having given you a license to now say, look, your license is now being revoked. And the reason would be that because we are not using water for a beneficial purpose. And we said, come on, this is not right. Who determines beneficial purpose? And we are in a climate where we know that there is no public trust. There's no trust between government and the people. So a commission or an officer of a commission can wake up one day and say, you are not using water for beneficial purpose. And then they come into your space, they come into your property, and then they revoke your license. So that is absolutely arbitrary. And we feel that such a provision should not be allowed in a democratic system. I also spoke about the multiplicity of agencies and their commissions. Now, you look at clause 22, and then you now see where it lists out, you have the National Council on Water Resources, you have the Ministry of Water Resources, Nigeria Water Resources Regulatory Commission, you have the governing board of the commission, you have River Basin Development. See, all of these, it's not just about the multiplicity of agencies and the confusion it can give to an average citizen. Even government, the agencies involved, there will be overlapping functions and so on.
Right.
It's also multiple taxation. Who is going to be financing these bodies and commissions and agencies? It's still the taxpayer, these same people that you are restricting, you are restraining. So one of the things that are of importance to us as an organization that works in the grassroots, that work for public interest, is also the fact that the United Nations just 10 years ago has declared water a human right. So we're in a situation where what we should be concerned about is how to integrate human rights to water and sanitation in our policies and laws, for the benefit of an average citizen on a day-to-day basis. But what are we saying? We are seeing a situation where government seems to just be doing everything that is contrary, to that human rights existence or even to the recognition of it. So that's why we are saying we can't hold trust. We can't hold people's lives in trust and be behaving as though we are bigger than all, as though we are in a system where people do not count. Because even in spite of the outcry, and that is one of the frustrating parts for an average citizen, in spite of the outcry, in spite of what citizens are saying, this is not right, we want to revisit and so on, you can imagine the National Assembly is so stubbornly going ahead. This outcry started when it was introduced during the recess, when it passed first reading, and people said, no, we have to come to the table. And right before our notice, it has gone through second reading, it has been referred to the committee, and now we're speaking about third reading. So it looks like we have a government that does not listen to the people, and this has to stop.
Ronke, please hold on. Hold on. Okay. Let's go to break. Let's take a very quick breather. When we return, Wilson, I will come to you and we'll move straight to section 3, where it's spelled out who may use water without license. We're still on the licensing part. So we'll look at who may use water without license and who must license before they use water, commercial use and private use, what it connotes. We'll talk about all of this when we return. Wilson Arunke, please stay with me. Lagos, you can share your thoughts with me as well on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM, #Morning Crossfire. We're right back in a moment.
You are listening to your number one station for talk.
99.3 Nigeria Info.
99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
99.3 Nigeria Info, your number one station for talk.
Let's talk.
It is still the morning crossfire 99.3 Nigeria Info. And yes, we are back on the show talking about the water resources bill. On the program this morning, I have two guests that have been analyzing and breaking this down for us today. I have Wilson Atome, Chief Executive Officer, Water with Development, Waterwide. I also have Aderonke Ige, Associate Director, Corporate Accountability and Public Participation, Africa, CAPA. They join me via the telephone this morning. Good morning to you, my lovely guests. Let me start. Let me start. So Wilson, let's pick up Section 3 of that bill, and I'm going to. This Section 3 talks about why you may use water without a license. It states that a person may take water without license from a water source to which the public has free access for household use, watering domestic livestock, subsistence fishing, and personal irrigation, not for commercial purposes. Personal irrigation, not for commercial purposes. It gives access to water use where a statutory or customary right of occupancy to any land exists, or take or use water without charge from the underground water source, or if abutting the bank of any water course from that water course for reasonable household use. All of this we're saying just states that you can use this water if you are using it for household or personal use. What is wrong with this?
So, okay, let me just put it the way we usually simplify things to people. So once you're using water in your house, it is good. It is legal. Yeah, let me use the word legal. But the farmer that is trying to create maybe make some little money from his farm, it's taking water from these sources is illegal. It is right. This is normal God's gift to man, access to water. I mean, so you have a river close to your house. Like I said earlier, if a woman that sells food at the buka fetch that water to use to cook and sell, it is directly illegal. Directly illegal. If a dog breeder, for instance, somebody that sells dog, fetch water from an open source that is said to be owned by the government and used to cook for his dog, and at the end of the month sells puppies, he has done something illegal. So we need to define the parameters that makes this water, this legal and illegal access to water is. Because, I mean, you don't have access to water. The only thing you get to use that water for is when you take your bath, you cook, you do your irrigation for just your house use, for household use. So that cap, household use, is the only thing you may access water for.
Right.
Anything outside household use, once you dive into a little bit of commercial, that means it is illegal. At any point in time, they can just decide to. So a block industry now, would be fined for fetching water. Okay, probably let's say in their own part they get to seek license for drilling a borehole and using the borehole, but a local farmer in a rural community is using water. He dare not divert water except he seeks licensing from the government. So my farm is beside a big river, and I have to go to the local government, the federal government, not even the local government, the federal government, to seek licensing to access water. I mean, so some of these waters now, some of these lands are just dry. When rain falls, water remains above ground, but it automatically becomes for the government. So you have to. I mean, this bill is, as my co-guest said, it is arbitrary. It's high level of. I don't want to use bad words, but it's not for the Nigerian person. It is not citizen friendly. I mean, and how would they even be? This bill was kicked out by the 8th Assembly, and the speed at which they are trying to pass this bill in the 9th Assembly, it is what's raising an eyebrow for. I mean, and if the Ninth Assembly cannot take the cry of the Nigerian people, which means
Right.
who are they serving exactly? Is it the Nigerian people or themselves?
Wilson, Ronke, please listen to this as well because I would like to get your thoughts as well. What we're doing is we're trying to simplify this thing so that an ordinary Nigerian listening can understand. Commercial and private use. So, for instance, a company that owns a building must seek, please correct me if I'm wrong, a license to drill borehole for use of their staff. I'm not talking about they're using it for commercial purposes or for use of their staff, for drinking, for whatever it is the staff want to use water for. They're not manufacturing anything with that water. Are we going to term that as private use or commercial use? I mean, it's a company building.
But the water is not okay. Thank you for counting it that way, because these are little things that confuse an average mind or an average citizen, and it's better to dissect them. So what you have mentioned is a situation where a company does business, other businesses, not water business.
Right.
So at the end of the day, whatever water they are also getting within that property or on that property is for consumption, just internal consumption. That is not what they deal in.
Okay.
So those are some of the confusions that were not clarified by this law and by this bill, and that's why we said it's mischievous. Now, let me point your attention to something.
Yeah.
There's a clause in this clause 121. If it does become an act, it is section 121 that talks particularly about commercial borehole. That is different. So the owner of a borehole constructed for commercial purpose shall obtain a permit for such borehole from the commission. So the permit shall prescribe the terms and conditions to be observed by the owner and so on. Now,
what makes up a commercial borehole? Let's say a block industry, for instance, or what exactly makes up a commercial borehole? I'm trying to reason that.
Ordinarily, the definition of that would be that the water coming out from that borehole is commodity. So that means it is the goods or it is the product being sold. That is what it's supposed to be. Now you have a bill that does not state that in clear terms. And that is why we say there is mischief. Because you see the way we have been able to break it down, that is where I've been able to explain it to you, and that is what it's supposed to be in legal terms. But this law has done a good job of avoiding an explanation or an explanatory note to tell you in specific terms that the product coming out of that borehole is what they are referring to as commodity here, which is the object of the commercial purpose.
Right.
This bill has not done that. So if you and I, as citizens, interpret it that way and go ahead and provide this for ourselves, agencies that are in charge of this management or of implementation of this bill, if it does become an act, which I hope doesn't, can come into our property and then say, oh no, that is not the correct interpretation. And they are subject. See, at the end of the day, everything that you interpret this law to be is subject to the interpretation that the agencies and commissions referred to earlier, where I mentioned, according to clause 22, would define it as or will tell you it is. And that is the danger. So if you and I, as private citizens, cannot even understand a law enough to know exactly in clear terms what it is saying, then we will run foul of the law, in which case we will either be subjected to fine or even imprisonment, according to the same bill. We can be imprisoned.
Ronke, quickly before I go to Wilson, I have read this bill. Please help me out. I didn't find anywhere where it stated clearly seeking permit to drill a borehole for domestic use. What I can find everywhere is borehole drilling for commercial purposes. Is there any part of this bill that specifically state out what you need to do if you want to drill borehole for personal consumption, for private use?
Absolutely. It would not call it borehole for you. Now, let me make it clear. Now, when you look at clause 242, there shall be no private ownership. No private ownership of water. Okay? So it already covers it. And now, when you look at there's a specific provision for borehole drilling. When you look at clause 120, subject to the provisions of this act, no borehole driller, whether corporate, listen to it. Clause 120, subject to the provisions of this act, no borehole driller, whether corporate or individual, shall commence borehole drilling business in Nigeria unless such driller has been issued a water well driller's license by the commission. So what is our observation there is that a private citizen, it doesn't say just a company, it says even a private person, an individual.
Yeah.
So it has already categorized you as a borehole driller. So it wouldn't matter that your purpose is commercial or domestic and so on. Now, let me make reference to what you read out to Wilson when you were talking about the clause 3.
Right.
Entitlement to use of water, and you said, but then it looks like this bill has made certain exemptions, like, these are the times you will not need a license.
Right.
And it's really funny, it is really couched like something that is a benevolent gesture, and it's laughable. You omitted to read paragraph D of that same clause, which says you are permitted without license to store and use runoff water from a roof. And I laughed when I read
from a roof.
This is rainwater we are talking about. It was funny because I said, excuse me. There's a way we'll say it in my place. We'll say, JB, you should have told people to get a license for rainwater. It's totally laughable. Even the one you were mentioning, when you look at paragraph A, that says, you don't really need a license to take water from a water source to which the public has free access for the use of your household or for watering domestic livestock. I said, of course, you're already talking about a water way or a water body where there's free access. In other words, they are talking about water in my backyard, water in front of my house, and so on. But mind you, there's still a trip in that provision because everything you see in this bill, it says, is subject to interpretation by the commissions and the agency. Yeah. And the challenge is that according to another clause of this, clause 24, no person, individual, corporate, or body can make inquiries or question the activities of the commission. If that is not arbitrary and outrageous, I don't know what else is. Because that means that regardless of what the commission does, or how it chooses to carry out its functions, or the arbitrariness of the performance of its duties, you as a citizen, I as a citizen, cannot hold them to account, and we can ask questions.
Oh my.
That is absolutely arbitrary.
Oh my. Oh my. Wilson, I needed to jump in on this one right now because I need to go to the phone lines. We've not taken any call. This is how interesting this conversation has been. But this is where we're going, Wilson. First and foremost, would you like to react to anything Ronke said earlier before I put through?
I think I would like to do that.
Yes,
so
please.
The last section which you talked about, no citizen or anybody can question the works of the commission. I mean, that goes directly against the Freedom of Information Act. The citizen has the right to demand information and be responded to and have answers to. And I mean that if you're bringing a bill that is contradicting to a national bill, a national act, not even a bill, national act already. I mean, what is the Nigerian people doing exactly? So, is it that we don't have people that actually look at bill and ensure that it doesn't contradict or contravenes another bill? And secondly, talking about when you talked about individuals drilling a borehole, and Ronke talked about the insurance and of license for drillers. I think she missed a little bit of that part. They were talking about licensing and not individual. So if an individual or an organization wants to start a drilling business, for instance, you want to start drilling boreholes as a company to make money, you must get licensing from these people. And getting a license as a driller, which means you must have adequate knowledge on the depth, the geolocation, the geophysical of where you're going to drill the borehole. So the individual's parts of individual borehole drilling. For instance, if you want to own a borehole in your house, going through a driller, the driller must have had specific specifications that they have to drill a borehole. So they can come to your house and say, we cannot drill more than 50 meters in your house. And that is law. So I think that's where the licensing, I wouldn't say licensing, the regulations for the individuals come in.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that's my response for her.
Okay, so guys, I need to take last words from you because I have to take calls from people, and I have like 7 minutes to do that. Wilson, I will take your last word on this water bill quickly in 2 minutes. If you can put that together in 2 minutes, what would you say concerning this bill as we leave the show this morning?
Yeah, so while this bill has, as I said the other time, has some advantages and it has several disadvantages to it, Nigeria is not ready for this particular bill. The provisions of the bill says a lot, and I understand where we talk about indiscriminate drilling of boreholes that leads to tremors, like a series of tremors in Abuja. I mean, in 2018 we had over there was record that there is over 110,000 boreholes drilled in Abuja. And that high level of vibration can cause the tremors that people are facing and might lead to some level of earthquake. Yeah, but this bill, Nigeria is not ready for this bill.
Okay.
If people have access to safe water from their house, from the state water board, people would not be drilling boreholes indiscriminately. We'll just pay for the normal water bill and get water in our house constantly, just like every other developed country does. Now, Nigeria is good with copying bills and laws from foreign countries, developed countries, not knowing that we are still a developing nation. You don't come and bring bills that are so steven to the Nigerian people. These countries that uses this bill, they are well developed. There are provisions for their people. We don't have access to safe water. Over 60-something million people don't have access to safe water. And you're bringing bills that is limiting people's access to safe water. For me, and for Waterwide, this bill should not pass. And it is wrong of the Ninth Assembly to keep pressing and even making this bill reach the third reading. Thank you.
Aderonke, your last words in 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. So my last word will be, number one, I think I'll break it into two. Number one is a message to the public office holders. I'm talking about the executive, the legislature, and how whatever we do, we have to bear in mind that the people are the ones we are there to serve. Anything that we are promoting that does not serve the people is in the interest of is against the spirit of public interest and is not productive, and we should desist from it. So to stubbornly go on in spite of outcries of people to say, look, this thing is going to do a lot of damage to us is not in the spirit of democracy, and it should be desisted from. Then my message to Nigerians will be, let's keep rising up against everything that is arbitrary, that is contrary to the spirit of our well-being and to the promotion of our livelihood. Government, if it performs its responsibilities, people will be happy. Close to 50 million Nigerians still rely exclusively on surface water sources to meet their domestic needs. So this is not what we should be seeing at this time. We should be looking at a way to make public water infrastructure effective and to serve people, not to kill the same people that we are there to serve and to represent.
Aderonke Ige, thank you for joining us on the show. Wilson Atue, thank you so much for joining us as well. I appreciate your time, gentlemen. Gentleman and a lady, always a pleasure to have you. We'll continue with this conversation. I will reach out again and we'll have this conversation again. Thank you guys for joining me this morning.
Thank you very much, Bob.
All right. There you go, Lagos. So what we're going to do right now is to take your reactions. I am sorry. I knew it was a big conversation. I knew the time wouldn't be that enough. But we just had to have the conversation, right? Maybe what we'll do is we'll bring it back again next week and have this conversation again next week. Is that okay? So we can take your reaction then. It's 8:51. I'll take some calls right now. Your comments are also coming in from Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. I can see all of them. But quickly, let me speak with Kanu from Ogun State. Kanu, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Quickly, 30 seconds.
I'm interested in playing.
No, we're not playing now. Bye. When it's time to play, I will let you know. All right. Olukayode Oyekunle on Facebook, on Twitter says, okay, let me start with YouTube. Oyekule says Nigerian citizens are local governments on their own. If we had government water, why would we all be drilling boreholes? Okay. Ayo is in Aja. Ayo, good morning to you.
Morning, Mr. Quadry.
Good morning to you.
Yeah, for example, now, if I want to start a pure water business, despite NAFDAC, we collect some fee for me and other fee. Is it part of the water bill they are talking about?
If you want to what?
Do a water business.
Oh, of course, you're going to get license for it. Thank you, Aya, for calling. Appreciate it. Let's take another one. Hello, good morning to you. Nigeria Info, good morning to you.
Check. Hello?
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Quadry.
Yes, please, 30 seconds. What's your name?
It's okay. Godwin from Loshiro.
All right.
Yeah. What I know about life and government is this. Government is about people. It's about human beings and the well-being of human beings.
Very true.
But one thing that continues to amaze me is this. Why is this our own government? Their own policies is anti-people. The welfare of the people is their problem. Is it not funny? The water they are talking of, are they not supposed to provide? Is it not one of the essential requirements the government owns it is citizenry? But unfortunately, it is the reverse.
Thank you. Thank you for calling me. I can't take any more calls at this moment because we need to begin to wrap up. Let's see if we can give out 10,000 naira. 0700 993 993 993. We'll try and see who will want to try his luck to win 10,000 naira.
This is Just a Minute on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Hello, good morning to you. Can you speak up? I can't hear you, I'm sorry. Hello, good morning to you.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning. What's your name?
My name is Goswill.
Goswill, you like to play Just a Minute?
Yes.
Okay, let's play.
This is Just a Minute.
Your first question. The National Water Resources Bill was first introduced in what year?
I didn't hear that. Please skip.
The National... Okay, I should skip. The FG designed the National Water Resources Bill to establish a regulatory framework for the control of waters, Nigeria's water resources, including dash and dash.
Skip, please.
Okay. Mention 3 segments of the Morning Crossfire.
Sports drive, the crossfire,
Okay.
and states of the nation.
Okay. What is the name of the chairman of the House Committee on Business and Rules who introduced the Water Resources Bill?
Skip.
Okay. Between 2004 and July 2020, a total of how many Lagos State indigenes have been rescued by NAPTIP?
By native.
Yes.
I don't know.
You didn't get any question correctly, yeah? You can try again on other shows. Lagos, this is how far we're able to go on the Crossfire today. Many thanks to my team. We will bring back this conversation next week. I'm tempted to say tomorrow, but we have something planned out for tomorrow already. And I have to inform my guest who took part on the show today. So let's leave it for next week. So next week, we'll bring them back and we'll talk more on this Water Resources Bill, what you need to know about the bill. There's a lot that we need to talk about on this bill. I'm Sheriff Quadry. Many thanks to my team, Olamide Fadoju, Zainab Yakin, and of course, Abatani Abdulsalam. You can follow me on socials. On Twitter, I'm there at Sheriff Quadry, on Instagram at Sheriff Quadry. LinkedIn is Sheriff Quadry. I'll see you tomorrow at 5 a.m. Jimmy Disu is next on Daily Digest.
It's okay. That is okay. It's okay. No, it's okay. Let me explain. It's okay. She. Off your mic. Over, minister.
On 99.3 Nigeria Info, your mic is always on. Let's talk.